All right, let's talk real quick about how you loop through an array list. Just like arrays, we're constantly going to be looping through array lists. And the way that we do it is very familiar, okay? Look at this. This looks almost identical to what we did with arrays. The only difference, well, other than my mistakes there, is we're using dot size instead of dot length. Otherwise, it's just the same. And then as you loop through, instead of something like grocery list A, we do grocery list dot get A. Okay, and we do whatever we want to do to that thing in the list, whether it's print it or add something to it or whatever. Okay. Something that I suggest doing, you won't always want to do this, and some of y'all are going to have different comfort levels. This is kind of a long, nasty thing to use over and over and over in your loop. So you might want to go ahead and store that somewhere. So like if I'm looping through my grocery list and I want to have an item from my grocery list, I could say, hey, I'm going to store the current thing that I'm looking at as item by getting it. I get it and I save it somewhere. And then the rest of the time in my loop, all I have to do is mess with item rather than grocery list.getA, which can be a little tedious and, especially when you're handwriting that can be really annoying. And finally, a little warning about looping through, lists. Lists change size. And everything is not necessarily where you just left it. Because when you add stuff, things move. When you remove stuff, things move. So let's say I'm going through this loop right here, and I'm removing everything from my list that starts with C. Characters are 1, not 2. So if the character, if it starts with C, remove it, is basically what I'm saying here. But when I do that, all of my elements move to the left. So whenever I do this A++, I'm actually going to wind up skipping an element because the one that I was wanting to move to next just moved back 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust my counter for those elements that just moved. And we might do the same thing, but in reverse. If we were adding something to the list, you might have to put an A++ to make sure that you're not revisiting an element that you've already visited, if that's a big deal. But that's the basics on how you loop through a list. So say bye-bye, Dolly. See y'all later.